Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be using Spellbinders' More Fresh Pick collection. Earlier this year, Spellbinders released their Fresh Pick collection, which included lots of fun floral die sets. They've now released 3 more as part of their More Fresh Pick collection, and I have all 3 sets. The first one is called Fresh Picked Vase Bouquet. Then we have my favorite Fresh Picked Daisies, and the final set is called Fresh Picked Angel Trumpets. I love the fun, whimsical design, and if you assemble them as shown on the samples, they will fit on an A2 size card. Of course, you don't have to use all of the dies from this set, but I love how they fill the entire card. I also want to show a couple of new products from Spellbinders that are available now. First, we have white foam adhesive strips. There are 14 strips on the set, and these have a 2 millimeter thickness. Most of the strips are about 1/2 inch wide, and you do get a couple of narrow strips on the right and left side of the sheet. The adhesive strips are super sticky. They'll be perfect for making shaker cards or just adding some extra dimension on your project. Spellbinders also released their fine line bottles. The pack includes 2 bottles. You can fill them with your favorite liquid adhesive, inks, paint, or other mixed media mediums. It has the nice, narrow, ultra-thin tip, which is perfect for precision work and details. It's a nice small size bottle. It holds about 30 milliliters or 1 ounce of material. If you are interested in any of the products I use in this video, I do have links in the description box below. For card number 1, I will be using some pattern paper from Paper Rose Studio. This is their Urban Garden 6x6 paper collection. I'll be using 2 of the sheets in this paper pack. This lovely burgundy red color for the flowers, and I'm also using one of the sentiment cut-aparts that's included in the paper collection. And if you weren't aware, Spellbinders now carry some of Paper Rose products. So let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. I've already cut out all of the pieces for my card, and I have them stored in Spellbinders Craft Stacks. This is the smaller size. For the background of my card, I have some pattern paper from Doodlebug Design. It's hard to see in the video, but it's a white and light gray gingham pattern. It's a very, very light gray. I also recently changed one of my overhead lights, and right now it is washing out all of the whites in my video. So hang in there, I am working on adjusting the brightness and the color. I just got back from a spring break vacation. I'm trying to hurry up and get a few videos out for the week. For my first card, I'm using the Fresh Pick Daisy die set. I cut out the leaves and stems from some green cardstock. There are 2 different pieces. I'm using Barely Art glue, holding those pieces with my reverse tweezers. Now very carefully put glue on the back, adhere the first piece at the bottom of the card, then add the second piece above. I cut out all 5 of the daisies from the pattern paper in the Urban Garden collection. I'll put glue on the back and adhere all of those in place. You could pop up the flowers with some foam dimension, but for this card, I decided to keep it nice and flat. It's fun to have the watercolor look for the flowers, and I didn't do any watercoloring. I'm just using pretty pattern paper. I have one more larger flower to attach. Then the final flower, you can just see a tiny bit of the petals, so it hasn't fully opened. For the centers of the flower, using more of the pattern paper from the Urban Garden collection for that top piece that has all the holes. And for the black piece underneath, I'm using Spellbinders Brushed Black Cardstock. Has this lovely pearlescent finish. I'll glue all of those pieces together. Paper Rose's pattern paper does have a slight glossy finish on it. So I am holding the two pieces together just a little bit longer while I'm adhering them. I want to make sure they stay together. And I'm using a small piece of scrapbook.com silicone mat to do the gluing. That way I don't get all of that glue mess on my craft table. Once the 4 flower centers are all adhered, I'll put glue on the back and add them to the 4 large daisy flowers. The 2 larger center pieces go on the flowers in the upper left-hand corner and the lower right-hand corner. Then I'll add the 2 smaller centers inside the last 2 flowers. For a sentiment, I'm adding one of the cut-aparts. This is Beautiful Girl, You Can Do Hard Things. I'll layer it on some of the black brush cardstock. Then I'm adding one more scrap piece of cardstock underneath just for a little extra dimension. Then I'll put glue on the back and adhere the sentiment more on the right side of the card. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The other card I added a happy birthday sentiment. Now moving on to card design number 2. The die set I'm using for this card is Fresh Picked Angel Trumpets. For the background of my card, I'm using more pattern paper from Doodlebug Design. It's a light blue polka dot paper. I've already attached it on a card base, and all of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5.5 inches. The 3 pink cardstock colors and the light yellow are from Spellbinders' Meadow Collection. The dark green cardstock I use for the leaves and stems is from my stash. This die set features 5 flowers, and they're all a different size and shape. I'm using all 3 pink cardstock colors and the light yellow for each of the flowers. The flowers in this set do have more die cut pieces, but I love the fun design. For the center of the flower, I use some of the dark pink cardstock. I'll flip over that front portion of the flower, add some double-sided adhesive tape on the back side, and inlay that dark pink piece. Then I'll add the yellow piece with the holes on top. By using 3 different pink cardstock colors, it adds the look of dimension. You could also cut out all of the flower pieces from white cardstock and do some ink blending or use other mediums. If you prefer to use cardstock like I do, you could also do some ink blending to add highlights and shadows. There are so many different options with this fun set. 3 of the flower designs are fairly similar, but they do have different sizes and shapes. The other 2 flowers, there's a small unopened and a larger unopened. I have 3 of the flowers mostly assembled. Now I'll work on that last larger flower. Put some double-sided adhesive tape on the back, inlay that dark pink piece, glue on the light yellow piece with the small holes. I'll remove the release paper from the double-sided adhesive tape, put glue on the back, and adhere that darker pink portion of the flower on the light pink portion. Then I'll add the light yellow piece at the very bottom of the flower. Now I'll assemble the final flower, that tiny little unopened bud. The bottom portion of that tiny flower bud has a teeny tiny little yellow piece, and I will use the wax tip end of Scrapbook.com's Craft Pro Pick tool to pick up that tiny piece. The final step for 3 of the flowers is to add the teeny tiny yellow circles. I'll first put a small drop of glue down, use the wax tip of the Craft Pro Pick tool, pick those up and press them in place. I was getting glue all over my fingers. When I pressed them down, 2 of those small yellow pieces were stuck to my finger. I have 1 final flower to finish. And you could add bling, pops of color, glitter drops, pearl drops, lots of other options if you don't want to add the tiny cardstock pieces. For a sentiment, I'll be adding the word hello, and this is from Spellbinders' Fresh Picked Sentiment Set. It was released with their original Fresh Pick collection and has a great assortment of sentiments. I cut it out twice, once from white pearlescent cardstock and another one from silver mirror cardstock. I'll glue the two pieces together, creating a lovely silver mirror drop shadow underneath the sentiment. And I did place an acrylic block on top for some added weight while the glue dries. Now I'll add foam dimension on the back of the 5 flowers. I'm using Spellbinders Black Foam Square Mix. This is the 1 millimeter thickness. I'll remove the release paper, add all 5 of the flowers. And you don't have to follow the sample for the placement of the flowers, but they do fit perfectly if you do. I'll also pop up the sentiment. This time I'm using Scrapbook.com's 1/8 inch foam strips, and this is their 1 millimeter thickness. I'll cut small pieces to fit behind the sentiment, and I won't add any foam at the very bottom of the letter H since it will be sitting on one of the flowers. I'll cut the foam strip into small pieces, try to get good coverage on the back of the sentiment. I will need to cut some tiny little pieces to fit around the curves. Once I have good coverage, I'll remove the release paper, put a tiny bit of glue at the bottom of the H, then adhere it on the card. I really like the size of this sentiment, and you can never go wrong with a general sentiment like hello. To finish off the card, I'm using 2 different colored glitter brush markers from Scrapbook.com. I have a yellow that I'm adding to the center of the 3 flowers, and I'll also be using the pink, putting it in the center of the 2 closed flowers. It'll add just that little bit of sparkle without the glitter mess. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For the second card, I added a fun white watercolor splatter using Spellbinders Splatter White Opaque Watercolor. I thought it would be fun to have one with the splatter and one card without. Now moving on to card design number 3, and this card features the fresh picked Vase Bouquet die set. For the background of my card, use this lovely wood grain design from Honeybee Stamps Grain and Grunge paper pad. I've already adhered it on an A2 size card base. For the vase, I used some of Spellbinders white brush cardstock, and I did pop it up using some thin foam dimension. When adding the foam dimension, I did leave a gap around the opening of the vase. That way I could easily tuck in the end of the leaves and vines. The cardstock colors I use for the leaves, vines, and flowers are all from Scrapbook.com's Floral Smooth Cardstock paper pad. I think the colors look beautiful against the dark wood grain paper. After attaching the vase, I'll start adding the leaves, vines, and stems. I'm starting on the right-hand side, gluing down the first 4 pieces. Then I'll add the large piece that goes on the left-hand side of the card. And I'll continue working my way up into the center. The final green piece I'll be adding is a stem for one of the flowers. It's so fun how all of the greenery pieces curve around each other. And I love how the light green color looks against the dark wood grain background. I have just a couple more pieces to adhere. Once I have all of the greenery pieces down, I can start adding the flowers. I've already put foam dimension on the back of all of the flowers. The larger 2 flowers, I used a light peach color. The 4 little tulip looking flowers, I used a darker pink. The 2 daisy flowers, I used a lighter pink color. And the small flowers that are in the lower left-hand corner, I used a darker orange color. And as I mentioned earlier, all those cardstock colors are from the Floral Smooth Cardstock paper pad by Scrapbook.com. Once all of the flowers are attached, I'll add the centers. And there's only centers for 3 of the flower styles. For the tiny little pieces, I did pull out the Craft Pro Pick tool. The die for the center of the flowers is all welded together, so you only have to run it through the machine once. Since I wanted 2 different colors, I did cut it out twice. So you'll see some leftover pieces in my craft stack tray. final centers of the flowers are for the daisies. For a sentiment, I'm adding Thinking of You, and this is a hot foil sentiment I had on hand. It was from one of Spellbinders' Glimmer Club of the Month from last year. For a final finishing touch, I'm using a white gel pen and adding highlights on all of the flowers. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For the other card, I used the sentiment Just Saying Hello. Now here's another look at the 6 cards I made using Spellbinders' brand new More Fresh Pick collection. I really enjoyed the original Fresh Pick collection, so I was so excited to see they added 3 more sets. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. And if you missed out on Spellbinders' original Fresh Pick collection, I'll also add a link for that. And here's a look at the cards I made using it. If you're watching this video on YouTube, I'll also link the original Fresh Pick video at the end. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.